You know that feeling. The air gets a little colder, and then you hear it. That first cough, that first sniffle. We've all been there, right? But have you ever really stopped and wondered what's actually going on inside your body when you get sick?
I mean, what's the real difference between a common cold and something that's going to knock you out for a week? And how in the world do doctors tell them apart? Well, we're going to find out by following a real patient's journey from that first symptom to the final diagnosis.
So let's meet our patient. We'll call him DA. He's 66, drives a school bus, and has his diabetes under good control. But then, one day in December, it hits him. A nasty dry cough, a fever, headaches. He's just completely drained. He takes a home COVID test. It's negative. So he gives his doctor a call. And his story? It's the perfect way to understand the puzzle doctors have to solve every single winter.
Okay, so DA's doctor gets the call. The first thing they're going to do is run through the usual suspects. It's like a police lineup, but for winter viruses. What could be causing all this?
And believe me, that lineup is long. It is definitely not just the flu. Every single year in the United States, there are almost 500 million, that's 500 million, viral respiratory infections that aren't influenza. So yeah, these things are everywhere.
The number one culprit, the one we all know the one we all know is rhinovirus. This is basically the common cold. You know the drill. Runny nose, sore throat, that cough that just won't quit. It's usually not a huge deal, but man, is it responsible for a lot of sick days.
And then there's influenza, the flu. The big difference here, it's the abrupt onset. People with the flu often say it feels like they got hit by a truck. One minute you're fine, the next you're down for the count with a high fever, a dry cough, and those awful muscle aches.
We also can't forget about RSV. Now, a lot of people think this is just a little kid's disease, but that is a huge misconception. Studies have found that RSV is actually responsible for up to 12% of serious respiratory illnesses in adults. It is a major player.
So why does it feel like all these viruses just gang up on us in the winter? It's not just because we're all cooped up inside. There's real science here. Turns out the low temperatures and low humidity in winter actually stabilize the virus particles. It makes it easier for them to hang around and spread. The virus is literally stronger in that cold, dry air.
You see, for one person, a virus might just be a week of sniffles. But for someone else, it could be way, way more serious. And that brings up a really critical question for Day's doctor. Who is actually most at risk for getting severely ill?
Well, there are a bunch of factors that raise the stakes. Things like being over 65, having a weakened immune system, or having other chronic illnesses. And if you look at our guy DA, he checks two of these boxes right away. He's over 65, and he has diabetes. That immediately puts him in a higher risk category.
So what's actually happening in the body? Well, think of it this way. These chronic conditions can damage the delicate lining of our blood vessels. That means when a virus comes along and causes injury, the body's repair crew is already overworked and can't fix things as quickly. The body is starting the fight at a disadvantage.
Okay, so since so many of these viruses cause the same kinds of symptoms, cough, fever, fatigue, just looking at a patient isn't enough. To make the right call on treatment, doctors have to decode the diagnosis and find out exactly which virus they're dealing with.
And for that, they've got two main tools. First, there are the rapid antigen tests. They're super fast, but they're not as sensitive. They need a pretty high viral load to turn positive. Then you've got the NOTs, like a PCR test. They're slower because they go to a lab, but they are the absolute gold standard because they can find even tiny traces of the virus's genetic material.
So Day's doctor orders a test, and the result comes back. It's positive for influenza A. And this, right here, is the turning point. Now the doctor isn't just guessing anymore. They know exactly what they're up against.
With that diagnosis locked in, DA's doctor can switch gears from giving general advice to creating a very specific, targeted treatment plan. This is where knowing the enemy really pays off.
DA's plan has three main parts. First, basic supportive care. You gotta stay hydrated. Second, symptom management, using things like acetaminophen to handle the fever and aches. But the third part is the game changer, especially for a high-risk patient like DA, starting antiviral therapy to directly attack the flu virus and stop it in its tracks.
But with antivirals, timing is everything. For them to work best, you really have to start them within 48 hours of when you first feel sick. This is exactly why it's so important for people in high-risk groups, like Donna, not to just wait it out at home, but to get checked out early.
And just to show you how important that specific diagnosis was, let's play a little what if. What if DA's test had come back positive for RSV instead of the flu? Well, the whole treatment plan would change. For an adult with RSV, the standard of care is just supportive care. There's no specific antiviral recommended. See? A totally different playbook.
All right, so DA is on his way to recovery, all thanks to a precise diagnosis. But what about the rest of us? How do we keep from getting sick in the first place? Let's meet Om. She's a 38-year-old teacher who just got over a cold and is determined to build a better defense plan for next time.
So here are 3 things you can do that are backed by evidence. Number 1, hand hygiene. Sounds simple, I know, but it is incredibly effective. 2, a healthy plant-based diet has actually been shown to lower the risk of severe infections. And 3, quit smoking. Smoking just hammers the natural defenses in your airways, basically rolling out the welcome mat for viruses. And if you need a little more motivation to stay healthy, get this. These infections aren't just about your lungs. One study showed that almost 12% of adults hospitalized with the flu had a major cardiac event, like a heart attack. For RSV, it was 20%. This stuff is not just a cold. It can seriously impact your entire body.
And the threat isn't just around in the winter. Some viruses, like adenovirus, are ridiculously tough. They can survive on surfaces for more than a week and cause outbreaks in some pretty surprising places, like public swimming pools. This means prevention is a year-round job. One more powerful tool for your defense plan? Masking. And this isn't just a guess. A massive real-world study in Bangladesh found that surgical masks offered significant protection against respiratory infections. It's another strong layer of defense you can add.
So there you have it. We've gone from the first cough to the lineup of viral suspects to the diagnosis, treatment, and prevention. You now have the science and the strategy. The only real question left is, what are you going to do with it? How will you put your defense plan into action?